Top 5 thoughts on the spring transfer portal, and we went through some of this earlier, but wanted to kind of put a bow on it here as we're about to see
mass chaos,
some madness, I would think, out of this. Number 5, will Dabo come alive? They have a lot of needs, particularly the offensive line, running back. They're good at linebacker, but they could always use something. And then if you look at what Miami and Florida State and what North Carolina are doing, who are the other, what Louisville, dear God, what Louisville's doing, and you're just going to sit there and wait for your guys to develop. I mean, he'll coach them up well, but I just think that they're going to run into some depth problems overall, because sometimes it's not about it's not. Most of the time, it's not just about your front line of talent. And what Clemson used to be able to do was, all right, even if you've got a freshman who's not ready, they were coached so well that when they had injuries, that happened, but they've lost guys and not replaced them, and that to me is an issue.
I wonder how many of the top-level schools who even can get whoever they want for pretty much whatever they need will start to have at least some cracks in their depth, because playing time and the money, obviously the money's huge, but I wonder how many of the bigger schools will have issues. Will they be hurt at all with depth?
I guess it depends on what happened. Does a team have like 4 wide receivers transfer out? It's kind of hard to know without being boots on ground in some places where something's expected. But yeah, there's definitely, you lose a quarterback, next thing you know, you've got the quarterback that you liked, and then maybe a young guy, and then all of a sudden you're looking for a spare part, basically, lack of a better term, and in the post-portal period or in the post-spring period to try and just get your depth back. So I think rooms can not be depleted, but they can definitely get wrecked by just a single guy in some cases leaving because you were counting on them to be a part of what you were doing or at least be quality depth. So, yeah, but with Dabo, probably not. Based on history, based on the current language that's still out there in regards to him in the transfer portal. I know Max Olson in a recent article had him in the category of a portal denier, I think is how he phrased it, which almost sounds like really bad. But
he almost needs an intervention.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to do anything because everybody's already told him he's not doing the portal the right way. They've already tried to intervene and tell him that he's not doing it correctly, but he's doing it his way, the Clemson way, and, for better or worse. Let's not act like they only won like 7 games last year. They were still fine, but is it going to catch up to him, or is it going to prevent Clemson from being the top shelf that they were here recently on more than one occasion? Yeah, possibly. And, how does that play long-term, short-term? I don't know. But, yeah, I don't expect Dabo to go crazy, but will he at least evolve a little bit? I guess that's the question.
I got a feeling he'll do. I think, listen, even if you think you have it not made, but when you think you have it all solved, you never do. And I even think there'll be enough people that can kind of, no matter if you think he's stubborn or just doesn't want to do it, I think eventually there's too much pressure to win there, even though he's won a lot. And I think he'll probably maybe just change his mind a little bit. It's not going to be like all of a sudden there's 12 new players at Clemson because of the transfer portal.
No, but we'll see. I'm curious if what he does long term. But there's a chance
if he hits 3 people that can play
there'll be
at Clemson,
3 more than he's ever gotten.
He's going to have to get 3 people.
Yeah. So, I don't know.
Maybe he needs to gain somebody who makes a huge difference, even though who he has might have done it, but then he all of a sudden go, that's how it works.
Number 4. Who will the surprise aggressive team be? We've heard Mississippi State. I wouldn't be surprised to see Oklahoma listed here by Emory. He thought they would be aggressive, but who's going to come out of nowhere? Because there's always a team in the portal that you're not thinking about at all, because you're like, oh, this team's got to do this, and this team's got to do, and they've got to go get this guy. And then out of nowhere, there's somebody that's like, yeah, we're going to sign these 5 guys.
You think SMU might be one?
Maybe. Yeah.
Anybody you want to be can be one.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that. I wonder if that might be one last week again. Wednesday.
Basically, I think this is a better question. Who we aren't thinking about.
Yeah, I get it.
That's going to just,
like Minnesota or someone like that.
Yeah. And I don't know who would be primed up for that. I will say too, though, and this is not necessarily in Dabo's defense, because I don't think you don't use it at all. But on average now, I mean, there's teams taking 10 to 15 guys, and is that really making the biggest world of difference for them? Are they hitting on 10 of the 15? Are they hitting on 6 of the 10? I don't know, man. Like, if I know Baylor's not the shining example of it, but, man, they've brought in about 40 guys, and maybe about 6 of them have made a legit major difference. I mean, is that fair?
Well,
Texas State and Colorado, I think, were the two teams that brought in more people last year. I think they were. Texas State was okay under G.J. Kenny's first year, and Colorado was good for a month.
Texas State was definitely much more improved and exciting and spawned hope that hasn't been there in a while. Just in terms of like, whoa, where could this go potentially?
But I do think that and part of it is there's coaches who have figured it out a little bit better for what they need of, a lot of times I think if you should have some transfers that you expect to come in and start. Yeah. But you should also have a lot that you're just bringing in to compete because you like what their skill set is, and then you coach them up. Yeah. Those are the ones that but that's what if you go get a quarterback – like Cam Ward, DJU, Will Howard, you're expecting those guys to start. But if you get a guy who just went through his freshman year at Georgia and he's transferred out, you're hoping he starts. You probably think he's going to start at your program, but you also know that, there's a reason he's not starting at Georgia. Well, we want this athlete here, but I think that's the one. But when you have to add starters, that's where you get in a pickle.
Yeah, I just think there's got to be a middle ground of because there's teams that are getting 10 guys every single year, and I just don't know how that's really, that much better than just not doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like I think there's a middle ground to be met there. So yeah, you don't want to do it Dabo style and not really mess with it whatsoever. But I also don't think that you should be relying on getting double-digit players every single year through the transfer portal, because I think that speaks to something that's a bigger problem than just plugging depth holes and needing a couple of starters.
Yeah, absolutely. Number 3, is Auburn going to do anything of note? They might be the team that comes out of nowhere. They've been very quiet in the way that Gus is building the roster. Not that he hasn't added transfers, but he hasn't really. He's made some really Cam Coleman that he signed this year, a 5-star wide receiver. He's made more big time high school signings. But I'm just waiting for the moment where Hugh kind of busts on the scene of, oh no, I went and got this guy.
Who's that head coach?
Hugh Freeze.
That's Gus Malzahn.
That's Gus Malzahn.
That's Gus.
Oh. It is Gus.
Listen, I don't always notice a lot. I don't. But I was like, was there a story that I missed?
Well,
did you mean to say UCF?
Yeah, no. It is. I'm
sorry, Emery.
Yeah.
Damn, I'm hard to work for.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm glad you called him out.
He's been perfect until then.
Hey, give me one of those gloves back. No. You get it back when you're good.
Yeah.
No. But what? Are they going to do anything? Where is Hugh Freeze gonna pop out here? I'm just waiting. They might be that team that I might have answered my last question, but again, with not a lot of quarterbacks probably going to move, that would be their biggest need. But I still am waiting for them to go and poach somebody that from somebody that's like, oh, this guy's definitely going to Georgia, and then he's like, no, he's going to Auburn.
Hey, they've been a lot better than a lot of times we realize, and especially they give Alabama hell. That's a great rivalry. Malzahn did, among others, and I think Hugh Freeze is going to be just fine there, and they kind of see a little crack in the window if they needed one or not because of the change in leadership in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah. Number 2, Washington has the most needs. You went through it earlier. They have 3 starters back, all on defense. All 11 starters on offense are gone. A bunch of the backups are gone too. People have transferred out. It's a it's a blank slate for Jed Fish. The one thing he has going for him is that Washington rebuilt a roster really quickly between Jimmy Lake and Kalen DeBoer. So it's shown possible to do it. So if you can go do that, then knock yourself out. But it's going to be tough because they've got to fill a lot of needs. But moving into the Big Ten, they've got some more cachet now coming off the national title. They should be able to do fine, and they've already added some good parts. But especially since all this happened so fast, and they were the most affected by the Nick Saban hiring in the NFL draft and, graduation. Those 3 things all hit them at once.
Oh, I'm going to feel sorry for them.
Yeah, I know, but
they were really fun to watch.
There you go. They've got a lot to make up for.
What Washington's doing with now, again, I understand the coaching transition, all that, is what a lot of blue bloods have to do every year. And in this case, it's even more severe because of the transfer portal, coaching change, et cetera. And it makes you even appreciate what Nick Saban did for so long at Alabama.
Yeah, I think they've, hit a weird crossroads where a lot of things converged at once, but I'm not going to feel sorry for them because of the season they just had. And just asterisk, national title, ... appearance, not national title championship or win. But, yeah, they knocked on that door. And, part of the reason why they did was because they had a lot of players that were, preparing to move on to the next level, as we'll see here in the next few days of the NFL draft. A number of Huskies getting their names called. But, yeah, the coaching change was a double whammy. It would have been interesting to see how they would have followed that up if DeBoer had stuck around, like how they would have chosen to build off of that. But I think they made a respectable to really good hire in Jed Fish. And if anything, if you're a Washington fan, thank God for the portal. What would you be, I guess you wouldn't be have to replace as much, but the fact that you have a new coach and a new era and a whole new thing starting up, as much as it's taken away, it's also got the potential to really give back in a big way as well. So I think for Washington fans, you've got a stressful situation given that things were so great and then just poof like that, they were gone. But in this era, with the Big Ten backing and the money that's going to come with that, they may not reach those heights right away again, but I do think there's the potential that's still going to be there for them to be very, very good.
All right, so the last two teams that lost in the national championship game, we know what happened to TCU. Mm-hmm. And Washington.
What happened to TCU?
They got. I'm just kidding. They did not. They had a lot of good players leave, and here's Washington, where they are in a different way.
And number one, Michigan might need a quarterback. Alex Orji is the one that they want to play, and he's super athletic. You saw a little bit of him last year in some specialty sets for the Wolverines, but if that might be the one that makes some interesting things happen, if quarterbacks might pop their head out like a meerkat and go up. Michigan, all right. Defending national champs, okay. But they've got a lot coming back. They've got a lot coming back. They're gonna have 17 guys drafted. Michigan, again, probably as decimated as Washington. It just they're not starting from total scratch because they retained a lot because of Sharon Moore being there, but 17 guys about to get drafted probably from Michigan. So, and the biggest thing they'll need to do is replace a quarterback.
How many were drafted off 01 Miami? And Alabama's had a couple of those.
But not they weren't in one draft. Michigan has a chance to hit the record in one draft with 17 guys that might get drafted.
Yeah, no question about it. All right.